parted from her crown for the final time, inside the Queen's committal service. Queen Elizabeth II's 70-year reign came to a symbolic end when she was parted from her crown for the final time, ahead of its official passing to King Charles III. Silence fell in St. George's Chapel as the imperial state crown, orb and scepter were lifted from her coffin and placed on the high altar. The somber moment saw the late monarch's life of duty come full circle more than 25,000 days after she received the instruments of state at her 1953 coronation. They will be presented to King Charles at his crowning next year. Her Majesty's nearest and dearest gathered at Windsor Castle for the more intimate committal service following the pomp and splendor of events in London. Around 800 guests joined the ceremony, many more than the 30 permitted at the chapel for the Duke of Edinburgh's funeral last year due to COVID restrictions. Among them were members of the Queen's household past and present who bid her an emotional farewell after years of loyal service. When the state hearse reached Windsor, King Charles and his siblings rejoined the procession. They marched solemnly behind the coffin with other senior royals to the chapel's west steps. The choir of St. George's Chapel sang Psalm 121 and mourners bowed their heads as the casket was borne to the choir. Charles sat in the same seat the Queen had taken for her beloved husband Philip's funeral. The Duke and Duchess of Wessex and their children sat in the row in front. The Russian kontakion of the departed then echoed throughout the hall in homage to Her Majesty's love for the Duke of Edinburgh. The song was chosen for Philip's farewell to reflect his roots in the Orthodox Church in Greece. In a moving bidding written after her death, David Connor, Dean of Windsor, paid tribute to the Queen's life of unstinting service to the nation, the Commonwealth and the wider world. He recalled her kindness, concern and reassuring care for her family, friends and neighbors. He added, "In the midst of our rapidly changing and frequently troubled world, her calm and dignified presence has given us confidence to face the future, as she did, with courage and with hope." As, with grateful hearts, we reflect on these and all the many other ways in which her long life has been a blessing to us, we pray that God will give us grace to honor her memory by following her example, and that, with our sister Elizabeth, at the last, we shall know the joys of life eternal. The chapel was adorned with flowers including Easter lilies, symbolizing purity, rebirth and hope, and white dahlias, said to represent inner strength, grace and commitment. Prayers were read by the rector of Sandringham, the minister of Cradley Kirk and the chaplain of Windsor Great Park. All songs and readings were agreed with the Queen in the years before her death, apart from the final hymn which was chosen by King Charles and the Dean of Windsor. Much of the music for the service was composed by Sir William Harris, who served as organist at the chapel between 1933 and 1961 and taught the young Queen to play the piano. The congregation stood and a hush descended as the instruments of state were removed from the coffin by the crown jeweler and passed to the Dean of Windsor, who placed them on velvet cushions on the altar. The scepter represents the crown's power and governance, while the orb, a golden jeweled ball surmounted by a gem-encrusted cross, symbolizes the monarch's status as God's mortal representative. At the end of the final hymn, King Charles placed the Queen's company camp color of the Grenadier Guards, a smaller version of the royal standard of the regiment, on his mother's coffin. The Lord Chamberlain, former MI5 Director General Lord Parker, broke his wand of office and placed it on the coffin. The move symbolized the end of his service to the Queen as sovereign. The Dean of Windsor then read Psalm 103, including the line, "Go forth upon thy journey from this world, O Christian soul." As he read, the coffin slowly descended into the royal vault, the last time it will be seen by the public. The Garter King of Arms pronounced Her Majesty's styles and titles and the sovereign's piper played a haunting lament, the melody fading as he walked from the chapel towards the deanery in the cloister. Justin Welby, the Archbishop of Canterbury, pronounced the blessing and the national anthem was sung once more. Visibly moved, the king thanked members of the clergy as he left the chapel with the Queen Consort. Immediate members of the royal family took part in a private burial service later at around 7:30 p.m. The Queen was reunited with Philip as his coffin was moved from the royal vault to join her at the King George VI Memorial Chapel. Her parents are also buried there, along with the ashes of her sister Princess Margaret. Having shared her life with the public for so long, it was only right the Queen ended her journey with the cameras turned off, with her family.
The Queen was reunited with Philip as his coffin was moved from the royal vault to join her at the King George VI Memorial Chapel. Her parents are also buried there,
along with the ashes of her sister Princess Margaret. Having shared her life with the public for so long, it was only right the Queen ended her journey with the cameras turned off, with her family.